how they announced it was one of the cooler things I think a number of us saw. But then just the how it all fell apart in 24 hours after that. I did not understand of like how you can go from like almost like such like a high, you did everything perfect, you checked all the boxes, and then
Right, right, and he even says when Mark Few calls in to their charity event that we're going to be playing at Gonzaga first. He kept on saying Gonzaga, Gonzaga, and not Spokane, and then for the carpet to just be pulled on us and the rug to be pulled on us, it's fascinating too because I grew up in Spokane. I went to Gonzaga. I've been going to Gonzaga games pretty much from the age of 7 onwards. And seeing this meteoric rise for this program has been phenomenal, incredible, unbelievable, frankly. Like, I remember doing my homework in a half-filled gym and nobody was at the games, not even the students. To see it become this and to hear that Kentucky's going to come to Spokane to play Gonzaga. John Calipari coached at Memphis and played Gonzaga multiple times as the head coach of Memphis. And anytime that the game was supposed to be a home game for Gonzaga, he also leveraged and pushed for the game to be in the Spokane Arena because he said bigger turnstiles, bigger ticket numbers, which is, yeah, I understand that, but is Kentucky hurting for money? Is Kentucky hurting? Do they need a good buy game? I know they have the top flight facilities, but is it really going to hurt them to be in front of 6,000 instead of 12 or 11?
I also saw even some of the arguments like on Twitter of people like who are even Gonzaga fans who are defending the move to go to the arena of like, oh, this will allow more people who can't normally go to the games be able to get in. And yeah, I totally understand it. Like that helps the exposure for those who may not have the other opportunity to get in otherwise. Like families might actually be able to go because they're not going to be cramped into the 6,000 seat or like just they can't get on the waiting list or whatever else it is. I get that. But at the same time, how often is Kentucky going to be coming to Spokane? Like,
right.
I mean, it sounds like maybe there's going to be, maybe it's a 2-2. It's like that sound. Maybe at the very least we know it's 1-1. But again, this could be the last time. But North Carolina didn't have an issue going into the kennel. You've had other top flight programs who've had no issue doing it.
Right.
But Kentucky's going to have this issue.
Yeah, I am hyper aware of the privilege of being able to say I went to Gonzaga games as a media member. I went to Gonzaga games as a student. I went to Gonzaga games as a family member of somebody from the institution. I had a lot of opportunities that not a lot of people were afforded, and I understand it. And frankly, even when the McCarthy Athletic Center opened as a kid, I was like, this should be 2,000 more seats than what it is. The fact that only season ticket holders and students get to really go, and then staff and faculty get on a wait list if there's more seats available. I understand the want to open this up to a community with Spokane that this is their NBA team. This is their professional sports team. Spokane is Hoop Fest. Spokane's a basketball city, and in large part because of the development of Gonzaga. So I understand the appeal of wanting to give the opportunity for kids and families to go to that game. But you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to get affordable tickets for this Kentucky game. Because if we have any knowledge of previous Gonzaga exhibition games, non-conference games outside of the McCarthy Athletic Center, they sell out within 30 minutes. And they sell out within 30 minutes just like the Alabama Battle in Seattle game because resellers. 30 minutes, the Alabama game sold out. 45 minutes. Tickets were going up to like $200 almost immediately. And you know what's going to happen? Kentucky's going to sell basketball tickets better than Alabama sold basketball tickets.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen? Regional Kentucky graduates and Kentucky fans in the Northwest are going to buy tickets and go to root on their blue team. It's what Gonzaga needs to do if they want to instill the culture and grow the culture even further for the Spokane community. Oh, put the buy games in the Spokane arena if you think that you could get close to sellout numbers. Play Kent State there and make the tickets affordable. You'll sell that thing out easily. You're Gonzaga. This community loves you. You have the talent level that people will say, hey, I can watch a handful of future NBA players play and dominate a game. Like I get that. I just don't understand why they think that this game is going to be affordable when even charitably the opening price is probably going to be like $50 more for a seat in the nosebleeds.
Maybe we can have it turned around. We'll get the former Kentucky, but really Gonzaga great Kyle Wilter, and he just buys up blocks of them and takes them away from the Kentucky fans.
He's already angling ESPN to get him on the call. He wants to be the color commentator for that game.
That would be great to actually have him back in the building for that. Obviously, like it depends on what his schedule is going to look like and everything else, but yeah, having the guy that has the connection to both schools, because obviously, like there aren't too many of those guys who actually have that. So
yeah, he's got a ring too from Kentucky, so he's royalty. He never has to pay for a meal in Lexington or Spokane, I'm sure.
All right, so let's talk a little bit, kind of about that matchup to an extent, because I want to talk about Drew Timme a bit, and because all right, this is something like I've been rallying around in my brain, because you look at this roster as you look at the fact that you bring back Rasheer Bolton, you bring back Hunter Salas, you have Nolan Hickman, you have Julian Strouth who came back, Malachi Smith coming in, you bring in Reed from LSU, and I'm starting to look at this roster. I'm starting to think of like, this is a team built to be a 3-guard running team because of the weapons that they have. If they're going to utilize the weapons as best you can, and if that's the case, I almost look at Drew Timme as being the odd man out, which almost seems blasphemous to say, considering he's one of the best college basketball players of the last decade. But looking at just personnel, person to person on that roster, like to me, they seem best suited to actually run without him. Is that crazy, or like, am I kind of like all the way out in the left field on this?
So I think it's interesting because I think that last season's Gonzaga team was the most filled out roster they've ever had in terms of depth. But I think the year before, with Jalen Suggs, Andrew Nembhard as the second point guard, and Corey Kispert, Joel Ayayi, that team was probably the best team to ever wear the Gonzaga uniform. And in that lineup, they played a 4-guard lineup. Timme at the 5. Corey Kispert was playing power forward. So there's already a little bit of experience in terms of having Drew be the lone post player. That honestly helps with spacing for Drew, because in a lot of ways, sometimes it's Anton, guys cheat and collapse. So I understand what you're saying, though, in terms of this team's going to want to get up and go. Malachi Smith is a carbon copy of Rasheer Bolton with honestly more accolades. I think Rasheer's probably going to have a bigger uptick in role, which he rightfully should. He was one of the most efficient players last season, secretly because Chet was on the team, so everybody focused on Chet. But I think Drew, I'm fascinated. I think that Gonzaga is going to play more even minutes throughout their guard lineup, just because, I mean, we're going to see a huge step from Hunter Salas. He's playing and counseling at the Damian Lillard training camp with I believe his name is Phil Handy, who's one of the most like legendary boot camp basketball coaches. And everything I've heard about this offseason's workouts is Hunter's going to take a big leap. So you're going to have 6 guards or 6 guys that are going to need to play 20 plus minutes. So that means the rotation is going to be quicker. Guys are going to be rested. But what do you do with Drew? Because Efton Reed came in, but Efton plays kind of a slower style just by the fact that he's 7 foot and he's a big guy. He's a brick house. Like, he's a complete opposite of what Chet was as this transition monster. I think Drew still has to play 30 minutes a game. Ultimately, I mean, he's the most dependable post player. He's one of the best offensive post players, honestly, in the history of college basketball. It feels insane saying that out loud, because you always want to, you got to say Lou Alcindor. You got to go way back. The legendary guys, even from this conference, Bill Russell. But Drew Timme and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar are the only two guys to score over 1,000 points in the NCAA tournament on 60% field goal shooting. It's just him and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Those are the only guys to do it. So it's like, how do you go away from that?
Right, and I think that's the challenge. It's almost the conundrum that Gonzaga actually has right now, is because you have Drew Timme, who is an all-time great college basketball player, and you know what he's capable of doing. But yet the rest of the roster, at least in my eyes, it's like the rest of the roster may not be best built to have someone like Drew Timme with them, at least like for all the time. Like I think, because I feel like there's going to be stretches where they're just going to like run. And that's just kind of how they're going to be best built. And maybe Timme gets like left in the dust from time to time because they're just going to go. And
yeah. And like Drew played more minutes last year than he played in that national championship game team. He played 0.2% more minutes, basically. So he had an uptick. I think he plays less minutes just by the sheer fact that they're going to be rotating. And honestly, I can't imagine. I think Anton is going to warrant getting more minutes because he's an upperclassman. This is pretty much the show for him this year and potentially next year. So he's going to deserve some looks. Efton, there's no way Efton decided to come to Gonzaga to not play. Exactly. I'm sure Louisville would be saying "we told you so" if Efton was only playing like 12 minutes a game or something like that. So I think Drew's just going to become more efficient in that setting. I think because Gonzaga had better perimeter shooting last year, but this year it's going to be absurd. Malachi and Rasher are two 40% 3-point shooters. Like to have two guys that are that great off ball, are that Malachi being that great on ball, Rasher's point guard experience. Nolan Hickman is going to be possibly one of the top 20 point guards in the country if things go according to plans. He has the pedigree, he has the skills, he's great at creating off of the dribble. I think there's just going to be so many different looks that Gonzaga can afford with Drew this year that even weren't available last year.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It'll be really interesting to see how Mark Few and the coaching staff really figures out how to use this group, because again, like I mean, I'm just in awe, just like how many weapons this team seems to have after losing like 3 NBA guys last year, which again, it's like this team just doesn't, they reload every year. Like that's really what it is. And it's, I think again, like we talk about just like the program and how it has just evolved over the last 20 plus years. Like that's, I think, the most impressive thing you think about, because I'm even thinking about just other teams in the conference right now. Like, and we'll probably talk about this like down the road, is like USF is kind of one of those programs. Oh, you get back for the first time in 24 years. You know what the hardest part is? Getting back.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Getting back is the hardest part.
It's an embarrassment of riches, and it's, I'm sure, annoying as like a fan of the rival school to hear. But like, I'm not mad that anybody came back. Don't get it twisted. I'm grateful, beyond grateful, to be able to see three guys that legitimately had NBA aspirations, and if things work the right way and workouts and whatnot, play in the league. I'm grateful. But last season was so annoying with people trying to figure out the Gonzaga roster and rotations. Nobody knows anything, but people are loud about it, and there's a whole lot of opinions about who's going to be who and who's going to play what. This year is going to be absurd. Like, if I was a fan of college basketball, but not necessarily a Gonzaga basketball fan, I would start muting some words on Twitter so you didn't have to hear people argue about the 5 guards that could play 2 available spots. It's going to be absurd. It's going to be annoying. I'm a fan of this team. I went to the school, and I'm going to be annoyed by this.